I'm Ann, and the brilliant man behind the camera is my husband Wade, and this is How We Van. And we use Starlink for our internet connectivity. Well, Starlink has worked so well for our needs, Wade decided he wanted for a Father's Day present the upgraded version to Starlink for RVers. This is the Starlink High Performance in-motion model. So if this is of interest to you, stick around and see how we went ahead and we installed it and how it's working for us today. First, why don't I give you a brief background of Starlink and what we've done. Starlink is a satellite internet service provided by SpaceX and comes in two versions appropriate for RVers. The base model, and the base model is the one that we had, is a rectangular dish that you deploy on a portable base anywhere within about 50 feet of your campsite. The base model version costs about $600 and $150 per month on a month-to-month basis. You can start and stop the service as many times as you want, so if you're not traveling for a full year, you don't have to pay for a full year service, just the months that you're traveling. The base model is the version that we had for the past year or so, and honestly, it worked great. If you want to see the video on how we installed it in the back of our van, we do have that video and I'll link it below. So a few reasons why we decided to upgrade. Number one, it's a permanent mount on the roof. Also, it is a larger dish, so it gets a larger field of view from the sky, so you get better reception. Even trees haven't been that big of an issue for us because of the wide field of view. But I have to say, if you're pulling into a gas station and you got that overhang over you, it's not gonna work. Because every time we pull into a gas station, I try it and it doesn't work. So it has in motion. So if one of us wants to work on the road, for example, literally while we're driving, we can. The cost of the Starlink High Performance model is about $2,500. Now we did get about $600 in online promotions, so we paid $1,900. The service fee is still $150 per month, and it's still as you need it, so you can start and stop the service. The High Performance Starlink kit comes with a large rectangular dish, as well as a mounting bracket and a wedge mount to install it permanently on the roof of your van. In addition, there's a 26-foot cable to connect the dish to your Starlink router, as well as a power supply that is about the same size as the router. There are a couple of cables to connect everything together and plug the whole unit into your AC power. So while a lot of you might be comfortable installing the Starlink yourselves, I was not, and Wade wasn't either. When it comes to drilling holes in the van, we're gonna leave that up to the professionals. We went ahead and we hired Owl Vans to go ahead and install the Starlink system. So Owl Vans has installed plenty of these Starlink high performance systems on vans with roof racks, similar to a Rebel. So very familiar with that. Unfortunately, our Gretsch does not have a roof rack. So we have the Gretsch Turismo. Again, roof racks aren't common with these vehicles. So they presented a bit of a challenge for them, but Owl Vans was up for it. Let's take a look. So as mentioned, we don't have a roof rack on our Gretsch. We do have a driver's side roof rail that was accessible, and that's where Owl Vans started to do the install. So they secured one side of the Starlink and then one side to the roof. For the other side of the mount, we chose to attach to the roof at the highest point of the raised roof ridges. We initially considered tooling the wedge mount a bit to cut away from some of the material so that it would sit flush with the roof of the van, but decided that mounting on the ridge was a net positive against water intrusion, as the water should pool beneath the newly created holes and not have a chance to intrude. Of course, plenty of sealant was used on these two screw holes as well. We chose to mount the dish in an upside down position so that the cable would exit from the rear of the dish instead of the front of the dish, also to prevent any debris and water intrusion. The only negative to this approach is that the cable comes out the top rear side of the installation. But we made sure to leave enough cable in the event we chose to flip it around. Next, we had to decide where to store the router as well as the power supply. Now, the easiest probably place to do it would have been in one of our cabinets, but that was a no-go for me. I was like, I can't lose any more cabinet space. So luckily, Alvan said they could go ahead and put the router as well as the power supply in our trunk area, basically in the same area where we had previously installed our router for the base model. So it was perfect. It was out of the way and it was space that I didn't need. With easy access to power from the outlet right here on the side of the sofa. Our next decision and final decision was really, where do we run the cables from the roof down to the power supply and to the router. Now, we don't have a port up there for roof access to run wires down, so we had to have Alvans determine where was the best place. We decided to enter at the rear of the roof, right above the driver's side rear door assembly. From there, we had access to the rear wall of the van through this removable panel in the back of my rear cabinet. From there, we ran the cable down the rear driver's side pillar to the floor behind the sofa, through the battery compartment and over to the nook just below the passenger side of the sofa, where the router and power adapter are stored securely out of the way. Normally, Alvans charge around $500 for a basic Starlink installation. Ours was a little bit more complex. They had never done it on a grudge before. They had to do a little bit more out of the box thinking, and they had to rework their systems a little bit, but they did it and they made it work. They charged us about $650 for it, but now that they've gone through it once, maybe you can get a cheaper rate. So now we have internet 24/7 in our van, whether we're driving or whether we're parked. And the other day, we actually used our Starlink when we were home because our internet went down at our home. So, Starlink, thumbs up there. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. We really do appreciate it when you guys subscribe, and we also appreciate your comments. So please go ahead and leave us a comment, give us your thoughts, and we'll get back to you. Thank you so much for watching. Safe travels.